Ethan Cole had always liked quiet places. He lived on a small trade station far from the busy lanes of human and alien traffic. The station was not very large, but it was enough for him. He earned his living as a salvager. He fixed small ships, cleaned up space debris, and sometimes sold parts to travelers. Life was simple, and he liked it that way. But Ethan also liked exploring old things that others thought were useless. That was why he sometimes wandered through auctions of abandoned starships. One day, Ethan found a listing that caught his eye. It was an alien starship, left abandoned for 111 years. The price was tiny, almost nothing, only 11 credits. Most people ignored it. Aliens called it cursed. Humans said it was too old to matter. But Ethan felt something. The picture looked strange. The ship's hull was scratched, but the shape was beautiful. It had smooth lines that seemed alive. He felt a pull in his chest, a feeling he could not explain. He decided to buy it. When Ethan arrived at the hangar, the ship looked even more unusual in person. It was huge, taller than the station decks, and long like a silver river floating in the dark. The paint was gone in places, and small dents covered the sides. Dust and tiny debris floated around it in zero gravity. Ethan ran his hand along the hull. It felt cold, but smooth under his gloves. He could hear a faint hum, almost like a heartbeat, though he was not sure if it was real. Aliens walking past stared at him. Some laughed. "Humans do not understand," one said. "This ship is dead. It will stay dead." Ethan smiled and did not answer. He was used to people underestimating him. The airlock opened, and Ethan floated inside. The ship smelled old, like metal and oil, and something he could not name. The hallways were wide, with walls that curved like waves. The control room was dark, but he could see strange symbols glowing faintly. He did not understand them, but they felt familiar in a strange way. He touched a console. Nothing happened at first. Then, slowly, the lights flickered. A soft voice whispered in a language he could not understand. Ethan jumped back, but smiled. It was alive. Not fully, but alive enough to notice him. He had no fear. He had worked with machines that were older than this, and he knew how to be patient. Ethan spent the first hours walking through the ship. He touched everything, learned where it hurt, where it was strong. The engine room was full of pipes and strange containers. The power core looked old, but he could see the design was clean, almost simple in a clever way. He traced wires with his fingers. Some connections were broken. Some were corroded. He made mental notes. This would take days to fix. But Ethan liked days. He liked the quiet work, the slow process of understanding something that others thought was useless. As he worked, he found small logs, old messages, left by crews that had tried to use the ship long ago. Most of them were short and incomplete. Ship, unresponsive. Crew lost. Do not return, one log said. Another said, system fails. We cannot control it. The ship waits. Ethan read the words over and over. The last message was interesting. It said, only the right mind can awaken the starship. Ethan frowned. He did not know what it meant. He did not care about the warnings. He only knew that he was there, and he could try. He started with simple things. He opened the maintenance panels and checked wires, cleaned connectors, and replaced corroded pieces with parts he brought from his small stock. He had no special tools, just what any salvager could use. The ship responded slowly. Lights flickered. A small screen glowed. Ethan pressed buttons carefully. The screens showed strange numbers, symbols, and graphs he did not fully understand. But he had seen enough systems in his life to know patterns. He noticed the power core was humming softly, in a rhythm he could feel in his chest. It was not dangerous, just alive. It was waiting. While he worked, other aliens sometimes came to watch. Most of them did not speak to him. Some whispered to each other. "Why is the human touching it?" one asked. Another laughed. "It will not move. Leave it alone." Ethan ignored them. He did not need their approval. He liked their surprise, though. It made him feel that he was doing something important. He smiled quietly to himself. He worked like this for hours, floating from room to room, checking the engines, the shield systems, the navigation. Each time he touched something, the ship made a tiny change. A screen lit up. A panel slid open. A pipe hissed steam. It was responding. Slowly, but surely. Ethan found the control room next. The pilot seat was strange, with shapes that did not match anything he had ever seen. He touched the seat. It adjusted itself to his body. He sat down. The screens glowed brighter. The voice came again, soft and quiet. He could not understand it, but it felt like a welcome. Ethan laughed softly. "Well, I guess you know me now," he said. He pressed a few buttons carefully. The ship made small noises, almost like it was testing him. Ethan noticed that every time he made a small change, the ship changed too. It was learning him as he learned it. He felt a connection that was hard to explain. Other salvagers might call it crazy, but Ethan understood. He was not just fixing a ship. He was waking it up. The first day passed quickly. Ethan did not feel hungry. He did not feel tired. He moved through the ship, cleaning, checking, and learning. By the end of the day, the ship hummed steadily. Small lights glowed along the walls. The engine core showed steady energy. Not much, but stable. Ethan leaned against a wall and closed his eyes. He could feel the rhythm of the ship. It was slow, patient, and curious, like it had been waiting for someone who could understand it. Ethan smiled. He had found that person. It was him. The next morning, Ethan returned with more tools and small replacement parts. He worked in the engine room. Pipes were repaired. Old cables replaced. He noticed the power core had changed slightly. The rhythm was different, stronger. It felt like the ship was waking up. He pressed a button, and for the first time, a screen showed something fully new. Numbers, graphs, and a map of the stars appeared. Ethan understood some of it. Not all, but enough. He laughed softly. He had expected old logs and broken screens, not a full star map. The ship was ready, slowly, to return to life. Aliens nearby noticed the changes. One group of traders stopped at the hangar. They looked at Ethan and the ship. Their eyes widened. "How?" one whispered. Another said, "This ship has been dead for more than a century. How can it move?" Ethan just shrugged. He worked quietly. He did not want trouble. He only wanted to see the ship alive. But the whispers followed him. News spread slowly across the station. People came to watch a human bring back a starship they thought was lost forever. Ethan felt a strange pride. 9. He did not care for fame, but he liked showing them that humans could do more than they expected. As the week passed, Ethan found more of the ship's secrets. Hidden compartments, control systems, energy nodes. Each time he discovered something, the ship responded. Panels lit up. Engines purred. Shields showed minor energy flows. It was alive now, but not fully awake. Ethan knew he had more work ahead. He knew he had to learn everything about this ancient starship if he wanted it to survive. But he did not worry. He liked learning. He liked fixing. He liked seeing something thought lost come back to life under his hands. One evening, Ethan sat in the control room. He looked at the stars through the thick window. The station lights reflected on the glass, but far away, the black of space called to him. He could feel the ship's heartbeat in his chest. It was faint, but real. He whispered, "We will fly soon." The ship made a soft hum in response. Ethan smiled. He knew it understood. It was patient, but curious. It waited for him, as he waited for it. And Ethan knew, somehow, that this was only the beginning. The humans and aliens around the station still doubted him. They still whispered and laughed. But Ethan did not care. He had found a ship older than anyone could imagine. He had touched its controls, repaired its broken parts, and woken its first signs of life. Soon, the galaxy would see what he had discovered. He did not know how long it would take. He only knew that he was ready. The ship was alive enough to listen, enough to learn, and that was all that mattered for now. Ethan worked late into the night. The station grew quiet. The hum of the ship was louder than the silence around it. He checked the engines one more time, cleaned the control panels, and floated to the main deck. He looked at the stars again. The ship had a long way to go. Its systems were old, its history unknown, and its power untapped. But Ethan felt hope. He had touched life in something that no one thought could live again. He had seen the first flicker of revival, and he knew he could do it again tomorrow. When Ethan finally rested, he felt the ship breathe quietly around him. He closed his eyes. He imagined flying among the stars, engines glowing, shields strong, lights shining. He imagined people staring in disbelief as a human starship moved through space. And he smiled. This was only the start. The ship had waited 111 years. And now, finally, Ethan Cole was ready to wake it fully. The next morning, Ethan returned to the alien starship with more energy than ever. He had spent the night thinking about the ship, imagining what it could do, imagining the stars it could touch. He floated through the hallways, touching panels, checking every wire and pipe again. The ship was different now. Small systems were already running on their own. Lights glowed along corridors, showing that power had spread quietly through the old circuits. Ethan smiled. He felt like a gardener watching the first buds of a plant bloom after a long winter. He moved to the engine room first. The engines were massive, strange, and unlike any human design he had ever seen. He studied them carefully. Many of the pipes and conduits were cracked or corroded. He began to clean and repair them one by one. He worked slowly, knowing that rushing could cause mistakes. As he tightened one connector, he noticed a faint vibration in the engine core. It was steady, almost like it was thanking him. Ethan laughed quietly. "You like this, huh?" he said. The ship made a soft, humming sound, as if in agreement. After hours of work, Ethan sat in the control room. He had found more old screens, hidden under dust and metal panels. He brushed the grime off and pressed a few buttons. Suddenly, the ship reacted more strongly than before. Lights flashed along the consoles, panels slid open, and a soft voice spoke. It was different this time. Clearer, slower, almost like it was learning to talk again. Ethan could not understand the words, but he felt the meaning. The ship was aware of him. It was beginning to recognize him as its captain. He smiled. This was the moment he had hoped for. Over the next days, Ethan explored the ship in more detail. He discovered compartments filled with alien tools, data crystals, and strange devices he could not identify. Some were broken, some still worked. He carefully tested each one. The ship seemed to guide him. When he picked up a device, a panel nearby glowed. When he tried a control, a screen lit up. It was as if the ship was teaching him. Slowly, step by step. Ethan liked this. He had never seen a machine act like a teacher. It was different from anything he had fixed before. It was alive, and it trusted him. One evening, Ethan was in the navigation room. He studied the star maps appearing on the screens. The ship had old maps of the galaxy, systems humans had never visited. Planets with strange life, star clusters lost to time. Ethan traced the paths with his fingers. He felt a sense of wonder. So many places, he whispered. The ship responded with a soft glow along the consoles. It was like it agreed. He felt a bond forming between them. He realized this ship had been built for someone like him, someone patient, someone curious, someone willing to learn. Ethan smiled. He felt proud, but calm. He was only at the beginning. Aliens on the station continued to watch him. Some whispered, some laughed, but others grew curious. They had never seen a human do what he was doing. One trader, a tall alien with green skin, approached cautiously. "You are wasting your time," it said. "That ship is old. It is not meant to fly again." Ethan shook his head. "I do not think it is old," he said. "It is waiting." The alien blinked. It had never heard a human speak like that. Ethan turned back to his work, ignoring the whispers. He knew the ship was alive. He could feel it in the hum of the engines, in the glow of the lights, in the soft voice that seemed to speak only to him. One night, as Ethan worked alone, a small compartment opened unexpectedly. Inside, a sphere floated in midair. It glowed softly and emitted a gentle vibration. Ethan reached out carefully. The moment his fingers touched it, the ship reacted strongly. Lights flashed, panels moved, and the soft voice grew louder. Ethan realized that the sphere was a core of some kind, a piece of the ship's intelligence. He studied it carefully. The sphere responded to his touch, changing colors and patterns. Ethan smiled. He understood. This was the ship's mind, and it was waking up because of him. He spent the next few days learning how to communicate with the sphere. He touched it, moved it, pressed buttons, and watched the responses. Slowly, he began to understand the patterns. The sphere showed him energy flows, engine status, navigation paths, and even weapon systems. Ethan realized that this ship was more powerful than anything humans had ever built. It was alive in a way no machine should be, and it had chosen him as its captain. He felt a thrill. He had never imagined this in his wildest dreams. He had not just found a ship. He had awakened a legend. As the ship's intelligence grew stronger, Ethan noticed more changes in its behavior. The engines responded to lighter touches. Navigation systems predicted his actions, and panels opened automatically when he approached. The ship seemed to study him as much as he studied it. Ethan laughed quietly. "So you are learning me too," he said. The soft voice hummed in response. He could not understand the words fully, but the feeling was clear. The ship was curious, patient, and cautious. It had survived 111 years, waiting for someone who could understand it. Now, it had him. Aliens in the station grew uneasy. They whispered in the corridors, watching Ethan float through the ship, talking quietly to himself and to the sphere. One group of smugglers even tried to sneak into the hangar to steal information about the ship. Ethan noticed them immediately. The ship reacted before he even touched a control. Lights flashed, corridors shifted slightly, and the intruders froze in surprise. Ethan watched quietly as the smugglers fled, he realized something important. The ship was protective. It trusted him enough to act when he could not. It was learning strategies humans had never imagined. Ethan smiled. He felt safe, and he felt powerful. But he never felt cruel. He respected the ship, and it respected him. Over the next week, Ethan worked to restore more systems. Shields hummed with energy. Engines purred steadily, and the star maps grew more detailed. The ship's voice became clearer. One evening, Ethan pressed a button, and words appeared on the screen in a language he could read. Ethan Cole. Captain recognized. He stared in disbelief. The ship had named him. The soft voice spoke his name again. Ethan laughed. He had never felt more alive. A machine, ancient and alien, had recognized him as its captain. It was more than he had ever imagined. The ship was not just waking up. It was choosing him. He decided to test small movements next. The hangar was large, but he needed to see if the ship could respond to his control. He sat in the pilot's seat, touched the controls lightly, and moved a small stabilizer. The ship responded instantly, smoothly, without error. Ethan felt a thrill. This was no ordinary ship. It was alive, intelligent, and adaptive. He realized the stories he had heard from aliens were wrong. Humans could interact with machines in ways other species could not, and he was living proof. Ethan floated through the ship, checking systems one more time before taking a break. The sphere glowed softly, floating nearby. He reached out, and the ship's energy flowed through his hands. He could feel the engines, the shields, and the navigation as if they were part of him. He laughed quietly. "We will fly soon," he whispered. The ship responded with a soft, harmonious vibration. It was learning patience, but it was ready. Ethan could feel it. In a few days, perhaps a week, it would be fully awake. And then, the galaxy would see the human who had revived a legend. News of the revival spread slowly across the station. Aliens whispered, watched, and sometimes came to stare. They had never seen a human work so patiently, so carefully, and so successfully with ancient alien technology. Ethan did not care about their attention. He only cared about the ship and its awakening. He understood something that others did not. Machines were not just tools. Some machines, like this starship, were alive, and they waited for the right mind. He was that mind. He felt proud, but not arrogant. He had a mission, and he intended to finish it. One afternoon, Ethan noticed a strange energy pattern in the engine core. He traced it and discovered a hidden channel. He followed the flow carefully, replacing corroded parts and reconnecting old circuits. The ship responded instantly. Lights glowed along the walls, panels moved, and the soft voice hummed in excitement. Ethan realized that he was not just repairing the ship. He was teaching it, guiding it, and helping it remember itself. The ship had waited 111 years, but now it was learning again, and he was the teacher it had chosen. By the end of the week, the ship had regained most of its power. Engines purred smoothly, shields hummed steadily, and navigation systems mapped the stars clearly. The sphere floated near the pilot seat, glowing softly. Ethan sat and touched it gently. "We are ready for more," he said. The ship responded with a small pulse. He smiled. He knew it understood. Together, they would continue, awakening. Together, they would fly among the stars. The adventure had only just begun, and Ethan Cole had already proven that patience, curiosity, and human skill could bring a legend back to life. Ethan Cole had been working on the starship for weeks. The ship had grown stronger and more aware with each day. Every panel he touched, Every wire he fixed, every control he pressed, seemed to teach the ship something new. Ethan had discovered hidden systems he did not understand at first. Weapons, shields, and engine systems were more advanced than anything humans had ever built. He knew that if he learned how to control them, the ship could be one of the most powerful in the galaxy. He smiled quietly to himself. He liked challenges. He liked learning things no one else could. He spent the morning in the engine room. The core hummed steadily. He checked energy flows, realigned conduits, and replaced old parts with careful precision. The ship responded immediately. Lights glowed along the walls. Panels opened and closed automatically, almost as if the ship was preparing for him. Ethan floated through the room, touching systems lightly, watching how the ship adapted. It was learning his methods, but it was also teaching him new ways to work. He could feel it in the vibrations of the engines, in the glow of the power nodes, and in the soft voice that spoke in a language only he seemed to understand. After finishing the engines, Ethan moved to the shield control room. The shield systems were complex, with layered energy fields and unknown symbols. He studied the diagrams and tested the controls, slowly. The ship responded, showing him patterns he could follow. Ethan traced the flow of energy with his fingers, noting weak points and adjusting settings. After hours of work, the shields glowed steadily, strong and ready. He felt a thrill. This ship could survive attacks that no human vessel could, and it had trusted him to awaken it. Next, Ethan explored the weapons systems. The alien technology was unlike anything he had seen. There were energy cannons, missile arrays, and other devices he could not yet understand. He tested the systems carefully, learning which buttons controlled which functions. The ship responded instantly, as if it already knew how he would act. Ethan realized that the ship was teaching him, not just listening. He could feel the intelligence inside the machine growing stronger. It was alive in a way that was both strange and wonderful. Ethan loved it. Aliens on the station began to notice the changes more clearly. Rumors spread quickly. "The human has awakened the starship," one said. "It moves under his control," another whispered. A group of traders came to watch, keeping a safe distance. They could see lights flashing, panels moving, and the starship shifting slightly in the hangar. No one had ever seen a human do something like this. Some of them began to worry. If the ship could be fully restored, it could be a danger to anyone who tried to stop it. Ethan ignored the attention. He had work to do. One afternoon, Ethan noticed a strange energy signature in a hidden compartment. He opened it and found a set of small, glowing spheres. They floated in the air, vibrating softly. Ethan reached out and touched one. The ship reacted immediately. Lights flashed, panels moved, and the soft voice became clearer. He realized these spheres were part of the ship's intelligence network. They controlled secondary systems, navigation adjustments, and weapon coordination. Ethan studied them carefully, learning how each one worked. With every touch, the ship grew stronger and more aware of him. As Ethan continued his work, he began running small simulations. He moved the ship slightly, testing its engines and shields in a controlled way. The ship responded perfectly. It could shift, turn, and stabilize itself automatically. Ethan felt a thrill of pride. He was not just restoring a ship. He was teaching it to fly again, to fight if needed, to survive in the galaxy. The ship trusted him completely, and he trusted it in return. He realized that no human had ever bonded with an alien machine in this way. He felt a deep connection. It was like the ship was part of him, and he was part of it. Some aliens became more daring. A small group of smugglers tried to sneak into the hangar at night. Ethan noticed immediately. The ship reacted before he could even touch a control. Lights flashed, corridors shifted slightly, and energy pulses sent warning signals to the intruders. They panicked and ran. Ethan watched quietly from the control room. He realized something important. The ship could protect itself and him. It was learning strategies humans had never imagined. It was alive, adaptive, and clever. He smiled. He felt safe, and he felt proud. Ethan decided to expand his work on navigation systems. He studied star maps, planetary charts, and old alien flight paths. The ship responded, highlighting routes, showing energy-efficient paths, and suggesting maneuvers. Ethan was amazed. The ship had memory and experience. Even after 111 years of being abandoned, it had once traveled the galaxy, and now, with Ethan, it was preparing to travel again. He imagined flying among distant stars, visiting planets humans had never seen. He felt excitement he had never felt before. The adventure was real, and it was waiting for him. One day, Ethan discovered a hidden control panel beneath the main console. He opened it carefully. Inside were sequences of symbols, glowing faintly. He realized these were advanced commands for the ship's systems. With careful testing, he learned how to activate them. When he pressed the right combination, the ship responded with a series of soft hums, panels opening, lights shining brighter. Ethan understood. These were special abilities of the ship, systems that only a capable operator could unlock. He felt proud. The ship was teaching him, but he was also proving that humans could be more than expected. As the days passed, Ethan explored more of the ship's abilities. He tested emergency systems, power reserves, and hidden compartments. Every time he discovered something, the ship responded immediately. Shields strengthened, engines adapted. Energy flowed more efficiently. Ethan realized that the ship was alive in a way no human machine should be. It was intelligent, adaptive, and protective, and it had chosen him. He felt honored and excited. He knew that soon, the ship would be ready for more than tests. It would be ready to fly beyond the station. Aliens on the station were now openly talking about him. Some were afraid, some were amazed, and some were curious. They watched from the observation decks as Ethan floated through the ship, touching panels, talking quietly to the soft voice that spoke only to him. One alien commander approached the station authorities. "We need to stop him," the commander said. "That ship is dangerous. If he awakens it fully, no one can control it." Ethan did not hear this. He was too focused on the ship, on the hum of the engines, on the glow of the control panels. He knew the ship would only follow someone who respected it. He was that person. Ethan decided to begin final restorations on the engine core. He cleaned old conduits, replaced corroded parts, and adjusted energy flows with precision. The ship responded instantly. Energy pulsed along walls, panels opened smoothly, and lights glowed brightly. The soft voice was clearer than ever. Ethan realized that the ship was almost fully awake. It had regained most of its power, learned most of its systems, and bonded with him completely. He felt a thrill of pride. He had done something no human had ever done. He had awakened a legend. As he floated through the ship one evening, Ethan noticed the stars through the thick hangar windows. He imagined flying among them, engines glowing, shields strong, weapons ready. He imagined the aliens in the station, watching in disbelief as a human vessel, controlled by a human mind, moved perfectly through space. He laughed quietly. He knew it was possible. He knew that the ship, intelligent and alive, trusted him to guide it, and he was ready. The final steps of revival would take patience, skill, and courage. But Ethan had all three. One night, a group of alien authorities came to the hangar. They demanded that Ethan leave the ship alone. They warned him of consequences if he did not comply. Ethan listened calmly. He did not argue. He floated to the control room, touched the console lightly, and felt the ship respond. Lights glowed, engines hummed, and shields pulsed softly. The aliens froze. They realized that the ship was awake. It was aware. It was intelligent. It recognized Ethan as its captain. No force in the station could take it from him. Ethan smiled quietly. He had proven that humans could awaken what others thought was dead. He had proven that patience, skill, and respect could bring life back to something long abandoned. By the end of the week, Ethan had restored nearly all systems. Engines purred, shields glowed, navigation was perfect, and weapons were operational. The ship's voice was clear, gentle, and responsive. Ethan floated to the main deck and touched the sphere, the core of the ship's intelligence. It pulsed softly under his hands. He whispered, "We are ready." The ship responded with a harmonious vibration. Ethan smiled. He had done it. Together, they were ready for the next step, leaving the station and returning to the stars. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. A human and a legend were about to fly together, unstoppable, and alive. Ethan Cole had been working for weeks, and now the starship was almost fully awake. Every system responded perfectly, from the engines to the shields to the strange alien weapons. The soft voice of the ship was clear, calm, and gentle. It pulsed through the control room, vibrating softly under Ethan's hands. He floated quietly, watching lights flash along the walls, feeling energy flow through the ship. He could not believe how far they had come. What had been a silent, abandoned vessel was now alive, intelligent, and ready to move. Ethan smiled. The time had come. It was time to fly. He checked everything one last time. Shields were strong. Engines purred. Weapons were ready, but inactive. The star maps were complete, showing safe paths through the nearest systems. Ethan reached out and touched the sphere, the core of the ship's intelligence. It pulsed gently, as if answering him. "Are you ready?" he whispered. The ship hummed in response. He knew it was. The starship had waited 111 years for someone who could awaken it. Now, it trusted him completely. He had earned its confidence. Together, they would leave the station, and nothing would be the same again. The station had grown quiet. Aliens watched from observation decks, whispers spreading quickly. Traders, smugglers, and station authorities all wondered if the human could really control it. Some feared what might happen. Ethan ignored them. He had always known that the ship was more than any of them could understand. It was alive, and it had chosen him. No one could take it from him. He was ready to prove it. Ethan activated the engine slowly. The hangar walls vibrated with energy. Lights flashed along the hull. As systems came online one by one, he felt the power flow through him as he floated in the pilot seat. The ship adjusted automatically to his presence, shifting slightly to test its balance. Ethan smiled quietly. It was beautiful. The hum of the engines, the glow of the control panels, and the soft voice of the ship all came together in perfect harmony. He pressed the final sequence to release the hangar clamps. The ship responded instantly. With a low rumble, the starship began to rise. It floated smoothly through the hangar, engines glowing, shields humming. Ethan guided it gently, feeling the ship's intelligence working with him. Aliens gasped from observation decks. Some whispered, some cheered quietly, and some simply stared. The ship was alive, majestic, and enormous. It moved, as if it had been waiting for this moment for more than a century. Ethan felt a thrill of pride. He had done it. Together, they had awakened a legend. As the ship left the hangar, Ethan activated navigation controls. The engines roared softly, pushing them into space. Stars streaked past the windows. As they accelerated, Ethan floated, in awe. The galaxy looked different from this view. Systems humans had only seen on maps now passed below them in real time. He touched the sphere, feeling the ship respond instantly to his thoughts and movements. It was perfect. The starship had regained its full strength, and it had bonded with him completely. Together, they were unstoppable. Soon, they entered the busy lanes of the trade station's space. Other ships paused, watching in disbelief. News had already spread that a human had awakened an alien starship. Traders, freighters, and even small patrols cleared the way, unsure what to expect. Ethan guided the ship smoothly through traffic. Engines hummed, shields glowed, and alien systems moved in perfect sync with human control. He could feel the trust between him and the ship. It had chosen him, and he would not disappoint it. They moved as one. As they left the station's orbit, Ethan looked at the stars ahead. He knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown systems, planets, and civilizations. He had revived a legend, and now it was time to show what it could do. The soft voice of the ship spoke again, clearer than ever. Ethan could understand some of the words. "Captain," it said, "destination unknown." Ethan laughed quietly. "Then let's find it," he whispered. The ship pulsed in response, as if agreeing. Together, they would explore, protect, and discover. They would become a story that the galaxy would never forget. The aliens watching from the station had mixed reactions. Some were afraid, realizing the human could control a ship more powerful than anything they had seen. Others were amazed, seeing that patience, skill, and courage could bring something long lost back to life. A few smugglers who had tried to steal information earlier whispered nervously. They had underestimated humans. Ethan did not care about their fear or admiration. He only cared about the stars ahead and the bond with his ship. It had waited 111 years for him, and he would honor that trust. As they traveled deeper into space, Ethan tested the ship's capabilities further. Engines pushed faster, shields adapted to simulated hazards, and weapons responded perfectly to commands. The ship was fully alive, and it trusted him completely. Ethan marveled at the smoothness, the precision, and the intelligence. It was not just a machine. It was alive. It could think, adapt, and protect. It had survived a century of abandonment, waiting for someone who could understand it. Now, it had him. And together, they were unstoppable. During one quiet moment, Ethan looked at the stars and thought of the galaxy beyond. There were planets humans had never visited, civilizations humans had never met, and mysteries humans had never explored. He felt excitement and responsibility. He was not just a pilot now. He was the captain of a legend. The ship had chosen him because he was patient, careful, and curious. He had earned its trust, and he would not betray it. Together, they would see what humans could do when they were brave enough to awaken what others thought lost. As days passed, Ethan and the ship continued to explore nearby systems. He tested new maneuvers, adapted to unexpected hazards, and discovered hidden features in the ship. Each success strengthened the bond between human and starship. The galaxy seemed to notice. Distant trade posts sent messages about a human controlling an ancient alien vessel. Some were curious, some were afraid, and some were inspired. Ethan ignored most of them. He only focused on the ship, the stars, and the endless possibilities ahead. One day, while passing through an uncharted system, Ethan discovered a small planet with unusual energy readings. The ship pulsed excitedly, highlighting areas of interest. Ethan guided the vessel closer, analyzing the readings carefully. He realized this was a system no human or alien had explored before. Excitement surged through him. He had awakened a ship that could survive anything, explore anything, and protect him and others. And now, they had a purpose beyond just leaving the station. They would discover new worlds, and the galaxy would remember them. As they orbited the new planet, Ethan tested landing procedures. The ship adapted instantly, lowering itself carefully, scanning for obstacles, and stabilizing automatically. Ethan marveled at the precision. The ship was alive, intelligent, and protective. It was more than a vessel. It was a partner. He had never felt such a bond before. He touched the sphere lightly, and it pulsed in agreement. Ethan whispered, "This is only the beginning." The ship responded with a gentle hum. Together, they were ready for anything the galaxy could offer. News of Ethan's success spread across nearby systems. Humans, aliens, and traders told stories of the human who had awakened a 111-year-old starship. Some tried to follow him, hoping to see the vessel. Others warned of its power. Ethan did not care. He only cared about exploring, learning, and keeping the bond with his ship strong. It had waited for him, and now it was awake. Together, they would face challenges, discover new worlds, and prove that humans could awaken legends long forgotten. As weeks passed, Ethan became confident in his control. The ship responded perfectly to every command, adapted to every maneuver, and communicated subtly through lights, vibrations, and the soft voice of its intelligence. Ethan smiled quietly. He had done something no human had ever done. He had awakened a legend. He had proven that patience, skill, and respect could bring life back to something lost. And now, the galaxy would see what humans could achieve when they dared to try. One night, floating in the control room, Ethan looked at the stars and whispered to the ship, "We are ready for anything." The ship responded with a strong, harmonious pulse. Ethan smiled, knowing it understood. Together, they had conquered abandonment, doubt, and time. Together, they had revived a legend that would never be forgotten. And together, they would explore the stars, protect the innocent, and show the galaxy the power of humans who were brave, patient, and wise. The adventure had only begun, and the universe was theirs.